a West Texas town full of culture and charm, where people hold the door, but it's no cause for alarm. Smiles are plenty and good manners abound. Our history is rich and our future will astound. Growth is important, but we'll always keep our small town feel. Take a walk through the Angelo State campus, you'll see the appeal. But it's the people here who truly keep this place in check. Like our everyday citizen, military, public safety, or parks and rec. From pop-up art, live music, to lakes, and great cuisine, we have so much to offer, whatever you're seeing. This wonderful city never fails to impress. If it's not already, you'll want to make it your permanent address. We invite you to come see what we're all about. You'll have a wonderful time, of that we have no doubt.
That is from our award-winning Public Information Office. Brian Groves does an outstanding job. He's been recognized, he and actually before Anthony left, have been recognized internationally, nationally, state, and regionally for multiple awards that they received. Nowadays, if we go 3 weeks without an award, I start worrying about Brian. But the voiceover you just heard, the young lady, that is Aubrey Groves, 7-year-old daughter of Brian Groves. And I think Aubrey was an infant when I first came to work at the city of San Angelo. I remember seeing her in the basement, and she was such an adorable little baby. So it's been 7 years. It's a treat to hear her voice on this voiceover, and it's an absolute treat for me to be here on my 7th year as well in October. So thank y'all. What I wanted to do is go over the priorities the City Council had established at the beginning of the year. And the priorities the City Council had looked at for the city was to address infrastructure, public safety, and economic development. What I want to do is address our street conditions, our situation at this point. I've also said at numerous meetings that I've been to is we are always recruiting investors, businesses to come to San Angelo. And we can't do that unless we invest in San Angelo ourselves. Our streets, our infrastructure, everything has to be in good shape, and we want to make sure that we're definitely addressing that. That's the priority the City Council has established. Our streets, we are at this point on our 5th year of our 8-year plan to seal coat all of San Angelo's city streets. It is a pay-as-you-go system. We normally invest about $3.5 to $4 million a year just to address the seal coat program here in San Angelo. Aside from that, we've also established a reconstruction and mill and overlay program, and that's an $80 million program. We had planned to address some of the most distressed thoroughfares that we have here in San Angelo. And we want to make sure that we're addressing that. Every 2 years, we do go out for a certificates of obligation for about $16 million to address reconstruction and mill and overlay projects. Right now, we're working on Bell Street, and you'll see plenty of work there. I know that north of Highway 67 has already been completed. Now, south of Highway 67 to Harris Street is under construction at this point, and we do anticipate that by March of 2021, that Bell Street will be completed. It is a concrete street, which will last a much longer time period for us, so that's something that we won't have to go back and maintain right away. But again, Bell Street is going as planned at this point. As far as future projects, College Hills Boulevard, that's the one that we're always hearing about. It always floods every time it rains. But we do get plenty of calls about that. When are we going to reconstruct that boulevard? I'll get a little bit to a little bit more detail on that a little bit later on, because I do want to address flooding. Future projects, we are at this point doing a pilot program for what we call the HA5 method. That's a high-density mineral bond surface treatment that it's kind of similar to our seal coat program. Our seal coat program, what it does is we lay a layer of emulsion on the streets, and then we put a chip seal, a rock seal over that. And that seals the cracks on the streets from having any water that seeps through that and damages the base. That's where you see a lot of potholes. We're trying a different method now. It's the HA5 method. And what this is a high-density mineral bond surface treatment. What it does, it applies a layer, it's almost like an emulsion, but it applies a layer over the streets. It's a UV protectant, and it prevents oxidative damage. And basically, when you have oxidation on the streets, that's when you know that the streets are starting to fail. So that's when you start seeing more and more seepage of water in those streets. So again, that is a pilot program. Hopefully that goes well. And if it does, you'll see more streets done with that. One of the biggest bonuses of doing the HA5 method treatment is that you don't have the emulsion and chip seal on the streets. That's another complaint we get. You guys, you did the seal coat program. Now I have tar all over my car and there's rocks all over the place. Well, this actually does away with that. So hopefully as we move forward, we'll have more reports on that. As far as drainage, the city back in 2000 had a master drainage plan done, and it addressed 57 different projects. Of those 57 different projects, really 3 were addressed. And here we are 19 years later. We've had a lot of changes, a lot of growth in our community, a lot of development. One thing before we move forward with any work on streets, we want to make sure that we're also addressing our drainage issues. City Council just a couple of months ago did approve for us to go out and do another master drainage plan to address that growth we had previously. It's really important that we do that. I mentioned College Hills a while ago. The College Hills project, in order for us to reconstruct the road there, we'd have to raise it because of all the flooding that occurs there. Because of all that flooding, the additional work that we'd have to do just to address streets not having to drive through flooded waters, we'd be spending about $14 to $18 million just to raise that street and address the issues just on that one College Hills Boulevard. What the Drainage Master Plan does is it actually develops a plan that addresses multiple projects into one. One of the projects that we're looking at that would ease the water flooding in College Hills is the regional detention pond right there by the Red Arroyo. That project would cost us between $5 to $10 million. But what that would do effectively is address the water situation at College Hills and other areas as well. So instead of spending $14 to $18 million on just that one boulevard, we're trying to be really smart about that and make sure that we are doing what we can to bring in all these other areas that are having flooding concerns that can be addressed through one regional project. So again, that is why the master drainage plan is so important to the city of San Angelo. Moving on to water and wastewater, I wanted to give an update on the surface water. Right now, as we speak, we received a lot of rain this past year. We thank all of you for praying for that rain. Sometimes I thought some of y'all would never stop praying. We had a lot of rain come through. So where we are right now, and keep in mind, is the way we calculate this is we look at all the surface water that we currently have, and then we take 1.5 million gallons from the Hickory Aquifer, and we do the calculation to determine how many months we have of water. The number that we're showing right now is 69 months. That's 69 months. That is by far the largest number I've ever seen since I've been here. Prior to that, I think the largest number I saw was 26 months. So again, that is significant. We still encourage our citizens to make sure that they conserve water, that we all conserve water, but again, it is refreshing to see that we actually have a little bit more surface water. The issue with only having surface water for such a long time for San Angelo is that we just weren't diversified enough. And when you're only dependent on that one source of water, we have situations like this where we're in dire straits. I know that a couple of months before I showed up in San Angelo, I think we're down to 11 months of water supply left here. And again, because we were so dependent on surface water. So at this point, what we're trying to do is diversify and address groundwater and other sources of water as well. Speaking of other sources of water, we are looking at the Concho River Water Project. I know y'all have heard about this project over the past year. And basically what we want to do is start using some of our treated wastewater and at some point convert that to a drinkable standard. What the Concho River Water Project does is it allows us to treat our wastewater to a really high standard. TCEQ, or the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, they're very strict on this. So we treat the water to a high level, and then what we would do is release that into the Concho River. It would flow about 7 miles down. At that point, we'd pick it up and transport that water to our water treatment plant. And then we would treat it to a drinkable standard. By all accounts, what we're looking at is probably an additional 7.5 million gallons of water per day. That's what it would bring to the city of San Angelo. When you look at that number, right now, what we're receiving from the Hickory Aquifer, what we could actually receive from the Hickory Aquifer is about 8 million gallons per day, so that's quite significant. Speaking of the Hickory Aquifer well field, we are looking at expanding the well field to make sure that we can actually bring in more than just 8 million gallons per day, but actually bring in about 12 million gallons per day. So when you start looking at combining the different projects that we're looking at, indirect potable reuse, which is what this Concho River Water Project is, the groundwater and surface water, diversifying and bringing in more water sources, what that does for us now is we are projecting that we'll be good here in the city of San Angelo. Even looking at the growth for the city of San Angelo, we are projecting that we will not have a water problem for another 50 years. This is during drought conditions as well. Yeah, thank you. That is significant for us, again, because without water, we don't have a community. So again, I'm very thankful to the city council members, previous and current city council members for thinking ahead, and city staff as well for all the work that's been done to address that. That was the biggest issue that we had when I first arrived here in San Angelo. What are we going to do about our water situation? Well, we do have a pretty good plan for that. So moving forward, we know that we'll continue our partnership with the West Texas Water Partnership. That's the cities of, I'll start off with San Angelo, Abilene, and Midland as well. What the partnership does is it shares its resources, its costs. The consultants that we have, we all work together instead of competing against each other for future regional water projects. We look for ways to address the long term, even past 50 years. We're looking for to make sure that we're addressing the needs of our community, even moving forward past that. So those are our infrastructure priorities from the City Council. We'll continue working and looking at ways to improve our water situation, even though I think we do have a pretty solid plan. And again, also to address our streets, our drainage issues, all of that you'll be hearing a lot more this coming year as far as how the City Council, how City staff, how we're going to be addressing that as well, the planning process associated with that. Next up, we have public safety. The police department, at this point, a couple of years back, they were allotted 165 police officers. I know I worked really closely, the city council, mayor, all of us worked really closely with Chief Carter. Chief Carter kept telling us we need more police officers. We need more, our community is growing, we need to make sure that we address that. City council did respond, and over the last couple of years, we have grown the police department as far as the approved officers from 165 to 175. So we increased 10 police officers. I know the chief, and I see him from right here, I know he's going to be wanting some more, and we're expecting some requests in the future. But I know this year, the priority for them that we talked about, and I'll get to that in just a little bit, was the body cameras. We also addressed the loyalty step program for the police department. And really what that does, the two main things that it does, it really rewards those police officers that have hung around our community, that are committed to our community, that love our community, and want to be here. So we wanted to come up with a way to develop a loyalty program and also to address incentivizing police officers promoting up. To have some more sergeants, to have others that want to take those leadership roles. And what that does as far as incentivizes, there's a little bit more separation as far as the pay level from one rank to the next. So that was two of the areas that the chief of police, that they met with us about, that they were really, they felt it was really important to keep and maintain those police officers that they've recruited. Now, body cameras, we've heard some about that. Last city council meeting, the city council did approve moving forward with body cameras. And the cost of that was about $1.6 million. I know that it sounds like a lot of money for body cameras, but it wasn't just the body cameras. They're also addressing in-car cameras, 110 of those, and also tasers that were needed. You know, one thing that's always troubled me is when I talked to Chief Carter, is he was telling me that the in-car cameras that they had were so antiquated. I mean, the image on those things were terrible. Whenever they broke down, they'd have to go on eBay to find another camera to replace that. There's just no way that we as a city and our public safety officers should have that type of equipment. So it's really important for us to address that. The body cameras themselves really will assist the police department with transparency. I think that there is a trust that's developed with our community when they know that everything that the police officers are doing, it's being recorded. It also reduces the number of complaints that we could receive as a community. I think a lot of times we do get complaints against an officer that just aren't true. And if we had those body cameras, we could take a look at that, and that would really squash that immediately. It also helps with supervision. When you look at maybe an incident that maybe wasn't handled the way it should have been, our supervisors have a way to go back and take a look at that and say, hey, this is the way you handled it, and this is a corrective measure that we need to take. So there are advantages to ensuring that we do have the body cameras, but also to make sure that we have the in-car systems as well, the cameras, and also the tasers that the police officers need. As far as the crime rate, Chief Carter and his staff, when you look at the numbers, what they've reported from the crime analysis, from 2017, the total year of 2017, they had a 12% crime decrease. The following year, they did a 10% crime decrease. And right now, as of now, month to month, they're showing a 4% crime decrease. So again, thank you, Chief, for your efforts, and your police officers. I think you all do an outstanding job, so definitely deserve a round of applause. Fire department. Our fire department has grown tremendously as far as the ambulance transfers. They're averaging anywhere between 400 to 600 additional ambulance runs per year. That brings that number up to almost 14,000 transfers per year. That's a lot of transfers. So it was really imperative for us to address the growth in the transfers and ensuring that we had the appropriate number of EMS and firefighters. So at this point, we did the city council did approve through a SAFER grant, a $1.1 million grant, that over a 3-year period that we would grow the fire department force by an additional 16 firefighters, EMS workers. That is in the process. It is one of those diminishing grants where one year we get a larger amount, and next year it's a lower amount, the last year it's a smaller amount, and then the 4th year the city takes care of all that. But the thing is that it was really important for us to address the growth in the ambulance services. We were able, of course, to purchase an additional ambulance this past year. That ambulance, again, as we talk about the numbers going up, we do have 8 firefighters, EMS workers, that actually went online this past week. So we're staffed for that additional ambulance. And that additional ambulance, you'll be able to find it at our new the fire station number 4. So we're really excited to have that one online. As far as a peak out ambulance, this was a creative, this is something that was really creative that I normally meet with my police chiefs and also the Firefighters Association on a monthly basis. It gives us an opportunity to look at issues and problems and address those issues and problems and come back the following month and make sure that those were addressed, or how can we tweak that. So we work really closely together to ensure that we develop ideas. One of the ideas that came from those meetings was, hey, why don't we do a peak out ambulance? And basically what that means is that we have workers, we're already fully staffed, we need more staff, but if we were to take some of our staff working overtime and they were to work those busy hours during the day, that would really address those peak hours. The high volume of runs that are actually done are between the hours of 9 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon. So by creatively putting this peak out ambulance in play, it really assisted our fire chief and all of the firefighters and the EMS workers in addressing the needs that we had from that perspective. So again, that was a very creative thought process, and it's something that we've incorporated, and it's working very well at this point. We also, and I mentioned a while ago, we do have a new fire station located at 3415 Edgewood Drive. I know that's something the chief has been looking at for a long time and looking forward to having that in play. So we are very happy that it's actually up and running. It's fully staffed at this point with ambulance and fire. So we're really thrilled to have that additional service that'll help to reduce also the run times. But again, something that's been in the works. So those were really the 3 top priorities for the city council. Again, addressing infrastructure, addressing public safety, and also economic development. Now, I just addressed the 2 areas of infrastructure and public safety that cost the city money. They're important that we actually fund those, but they cost the city money. And I think the mayor has the fun part here, because she's going to address the area that actually brings the city money and helps pay for these projects that the city has, all these directives and plans that the city has. So with that, I want to welcome Mayor Brenda Gunter to address our economic development.
Well, as Daniel just said, in order to provide a quality of life as it relates to infrastructure, the city has to have forever growing resources, and that means dollars in the bank, if you will. The city's first responsibility is definitely to provide that infrastructure, but they can't do it unless we find a way to continue to raise the sales tax dollars, give local, support local, share local. Let's make local successful, because with local support, San Angelo receives more sales tax dollars. In addition to that, we know that we need new property tax dollars. Just to remind everybody that the city of San Angelo is not responsible for ever increasing property tax values. We have maintained the same property tax rate for how many years, Daniel? For a decade. So we have maintained the property tax rate of this city for 10 years. This past year, we've had a 7.3% increase in the sales tax dollars, and we've been able to add $53 million worth of new property tax dollars to the property tax rolls. Now, not all of those is in economic development as it relates to new companies. Some of it's obviously residential. But what we do know, in order to continue to look at and hopefully at one point reduce your property tax rate, we need to continue to grow the commercial industrial base of this city. Many people would say, yeah, but if you do that, you reduce the quality of life in this city. And I say, without it, you'll lose the quality of life in this city. So we must continue to push the button on economic development. And we must do that because the citizens of San Angelo need to have a greater quality of life. We need to find a way to raise their livelihood from a minimum wage to an affordable, livable wage. Here in San Angelo, those people earning between $35,000 and $100,000 make up about 50% of the population here. So when you put that in perspective, it says that in order for them to have a great quality of life, housing is a big challenge. And we also know that housing is one of the #1 things that determines one's quality of life. And so with that in mind, we approved a housing study that was done and completed and presented to us in the month of September. And what the results said were the following. About 50% of the people in San Angelo are housing, tough housing situation, meaning they're not finding the quality of house that they need for the income they earn. So they're putting more and more dollars of their income into housing, which is over and above what national trends are. And so with that, we know that we have to challenge the issues and support a strategy that allows for more housing to be created here in San Angelo. To that degree, we are proud to announce that in the year 2020-2021, there will be approximately 770 new apartment units available to the citizens of San Angelo. In addition to that, there's a strong program going on in our infill areas that will provide housing in the price range of between $150,000 and $160,000. The number of homes sold in the city of San Angelo last month that were priced between $100,000 and $200,000 was over 50% of the total number of houses sold. So we know that housing in that price range is really important. Now, the development community cannot build affordable housing if they don't have help and support from programs from the city of San Angelo. And to that degree, we've created an infill program which allows for a dollar allowance for builders to apply for to help put together housing that is in that $150,000 price range. We know that's necessary, we know it's important, and we know that we have to be participating in that effort in order to produce those housing issues. And those programs exist in all of the areas of San Angelo in which we know that there is an income sensitivity. So we are proud and excited about some of those new developments. To that extent, we know that within the next 6 months, there will be about 50 of those units available for sale. Most of those units are being sold before they're even completed in terms of the construction. So there's a huge need, and I believe strongly that in order for this city to continue to grow and develop, housing is a #1 issue. And it's also a #1 issue because in order to ask companies to move to San Angelo and bring their business to our community, we have to have a workforce. And you can't hire people and bring them into this city if we don't have housing. They got to have housing. So the only way that we can get our economic development people to continue with their strategy and bring in new companies and additional workforce to San Angelo is through good housing. That also means that we must find a way to ensure that the citizens of San Angelo are provided the appropriate training and schooling to make them market ready for the jobs that are available today. Vocational training is very important into the future of San Angelo. We are proud to say that the Home Builders Association put together a home builders school out at Howard College. Their second year, I believe, started this fall season. We are excited about it because the home builders realized that in order to help support the housing need in this city, we needed to find people who were qualified and work ready in the housing construction business. So thank you to the Home Builders Association for that leadership. Goodfellow, which is the #1 employer in this city, also struggles with housing. And we realize their growth and their ability to bring new missions to San Angelo is depending on our ability to provide affordable housing. Housing is a major issue for Goodfellow. In some cases, they're putting 3 people in a room that were designed for 2 people. That does not provide for quality of living and a quality lifestyle while they stay here in San Angelo. And so once again, we've worked aggressively with Goodfellow Air Force Base and the builders and contractors and developers to make sure that they understand the need that Goodfellow has, our #1 employer in the city of San Angelo. We are a military-friendly town. We support the military, and we look for growth from the military, and that cannot happen if we can't provide them the housing that they need. And I'm committed to ensure that we work through our planning permits and to ensure that those projects get up and running as fast as possible. We cannot, as a city, be the problem with getting these permits approved and the engineering done to get these projects moving forward. Every day that we hold up a project is another day we impact somebody's lifestyle negatively. So we've got to make sure, again, we really look at cutting the red tape and ensuring that we, the city, are not in the way of development happening. Shannon Hospital, which is the second largest employer in this city, and it's something that's important to everyone who moves here, whether you're a retiree or a new company or just a citizen who's lived here for life. You want to have great health care, and health care, whether it's provided by community or Shannon, their ability to recruit doctors, PAs, or nurses, again, depends on their ability to have a life that these individuals want to have here in San Angelo. Starts with housing. So our two biggest challenges in this city is housing and the workforce. And those two things work hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. So we ask that all of you help us move those projects forward. If there's a project that's gotten tangled up somewhere, let me know about it. I want to make sure these projects move forward. When I became mayor, you heard me talk about transportation, and I will say the following: economic development cannot happen unless you have a strategy on transportation. So my planes, trains, and automobile strategy is the following. We secured 183 acres just about a month ago. It's taken us 8 months to get that property secured so that we can put in a rail port. We have visited with many businesses here in San Angelo and the surrounding areas about the rail, and I cannot tell you how strong their enthusiasm and their support is and how thankful they are that we've moved forward on this project. And I want to give a shout out to Michael Looney and Roger Horton, because without their endless participation and follow through, we would not have this project, and we would not have the plans being laid out as I speak to grow that rail port. And planes, we all want to know about planes because we all want additional flights out of San Angelo Airport, and we also want flights to Houston and perhaps other cities. Well, the number one way to get there is to create a master plan, and we've hired a group to put together a master plan for the airport, and we should see the result of that sometime later this year. Airports are a great economic development platform, and I know that we have greater opportunity to bring new companies, additional support organizations, whether it's the Border Patrol or the drones. There's a tremendous opportunity for us, but you can't do it without a master plan. You have to be able to show them your game plan, what you have available, and what we're willing to do to help expand that airport. It's an important part of West Texas, and it's an important part of this city. As it relates to automobiles, we were successful in getting the approval of what is House Bill 1079. And House Bill 1079 is the first stake in the ground that has been driven to help us get Interstate 27 up and running. I testified before Congress earlier this year. We had a meeting in Lubbock last week. We will have another meeting in October here. We'll have another one in November, and we'll have another one in January to talk through the strategy, the issues, the needs for this interstate project. And I know everybody's not in support of an interstate. Many people think it will impact the quality of their life. But I will tell you what will more dramatically impact the quality of your life is if we don't get an interstate through San Angelo. Most companies will not look at you if you're not within 5 to 10 miles of an interstate. Our future, our growth, our potential will only be met when we can improve the transportation issues as it relates to highways. I believe those people who work to bring food, fuel, and fiber to the rest of the world deserve safe roads to drive on. We out here represent about 2% of the population, and yet we represent over 11% of the fatalities. And do you know why? Because we have a lot of roads where we do this. HB 1079 says the following: you will look at a study to either do two things, create a 4-lane interstate highway or a 4-lane divided highway. One way or the other, it will dramatically improve our transportation as it relates to trucking, driving, and moving freight. The freight mobility plan, which is attached to this, is very significant in terms of our ability to continue to grow and develop this great community. I believe you deserve the quality of life. I believe you deserve our work and efforts to make sure that we've done all the things and created the foundation for the future of this city. and the future depends on planes, trains, and automobiles. And with that, we also know that part of our growth and opportunity to grow our airport and one of our other great assets, which is Lake Nasworthy, won't happen unless we invest in the sewer system. I have a phone call I need to return this afternoon about someone who wants a project out at the Mathis Field, and yet he needs to know the answer on what's going on with the sewer project because our sewer line is at capacity. We can't afford to have hotels out there, restaurants out there, and further development out there because the sewer has reached its potential maximum amount. Lake Nasworthy was created first and foremost, and that land purchased by WTU for two reasons: to create a basin to hold water, so during drought periods the city of San Angelo would always have water, and number two, to create electricity. It was never created as a recreational lake. And yet we are blessed today that it has turned into a recreational asset. And we know that the potential for continue to develop it and improve it is out there. Because the citizens of San Angelo were the citizens who approved the city buying from WTU Lake Nasworthy in the late 1950s. You, the citizens, approved that. So you, the citizens, have the right to tell us if you want us to use those monies in a way that will help improve this city. I can't tell you to vote for it, but I can tell you it will be on the November ballot for you to look at and choose to either approve or not approve. There's approximately $15 million sitting in the Lake Nasworthy Trust Fund. Of that, we believe the improvement of Lake Nasworthy is a #1 priority, and that means we want to use about $6 million out of that fund to improve Lake Nasworthy. I think that's very important. You'll make that decision. I also know that we have a $32 million project that we need to fund in order to improve the sewer system at Lake Nasworthy and allow for development at Mathis Field. And so we want to use the balance of those funds as of May 2020 to start a down payment, if you will, for the sewer project that will allow us to continue to grow and develop Lake Nasworthy and the airport. So please look at it, consider it, and then vote with your heart. Let me just add a little tidbit of information, and that is that when we put the sewer line out there, that sewer line is a cast iron pipe, 50 years old, and runs underneath the lake. Uncased. So guess what happens if it springs a leak? There goes your water basin. Not that I'm asking you to vote for it, I'm just giving you the facts. It's illegal for me to ask for it, but I can certainly give you the facts. Now, with that said, we know that Lake Nasworthy is a wonderful asset to this city, and we also know that there are many other things that we own in this city that need development and somebody from the private sector to really maximize those assets. And so with that, we are working with an individual to help improve our College Hills sports complex. And that project is going to be developed by a private citizen and turn it into a wonderful first-class baseball area for our young kids. And I'm excited about that partnership. In addition to that, we've worked with the Spring Creek Marino folks, and they are going to continue to develop Spring Creek and make it a more encouraging and exciting area. The last thing that we're working on is a project at Quicksand. I'm excited about this project as well because they currently have 18. I told somebody, a group, the realtors, the other day that they went from 9 holes to 18 holes. Obviously, I don't play golf. I've not been out there on that field to play, on that course to play golf, but they're going to invest in another 9 holes, taking it up to 27 holes. It will be a first-class asset because they're also going to improve their clubhouse. They are looking to make it something that the private citizens who don't belong to a club have an opportunity to a first-class golf course. And with that, they are proposing to put in a hotel and a convention center at Quicksand. I'm excited about that, and I hope you are too. This project is moving quick. They've already started the work on increasing the number of holes. This November, they will announce who their hotel partner will be. And we believe that this will bring a lot to San Angelo because it will be the only hotel conference center attached to a golf course and a 150-mile radius. San Angelo. Quality of life in San Angelo also means that we must support the area of arts, culture, entertainment, and tourism. These things, these items bring so much to the young folks in our city, and it is well proven that anytime we start and expose our children at a young age to art or culture, whether it's a symphony, whether it's painting, whether it's music, look at the growth we've had in the mariachi band. Moving it out to Lakeview has taken that mariachi band from having somewhere under 100 people participating to over 250 people and students. That changes lives. San Angelo Museum of Fine Arts has done a terrific job of bringing art and culture to the youth. They have a lot of family days. There are a lot of free days. They are there to make sure that our youth are not ever considered underexposed in this community. That is something that you can't put dollars and cents on. Many programs on 60 Minutes or other programs will talk about the importance of culture, art, and music. Even out here in West Texas, those things are important, and they will change the lives of our kids. We must have a school system that supports those things or exposes our kids to those issues. We will not be successful in San Angelo unless we have a strong school system and a lot of community support for our school system. Early childhood education is so important, but so is vocational training. I was in Amarillo 2 weeks ago, and one of the programs that they have started, because they realize that so many young kids, unfortunately, have kids at a young age. They're supporting a family, and they don't have training to take on a bigger and better job. So they've created a program that allows for someone to get a vocational certificate in 8 weeks. Not 2 years, 8 weeks. That allows somebody to quickly get a vocational certificate and get out in the workforce trained and ready to support our economic development. I'll be looking at that. We, this past year, were designated a music-friendly and a film-friendly city. And in addition to that, yes, go ahead. It's about art, it's about culture, it's about making sure that our community is enhanced by art, culture, and entertainment. We are always proud of what the stock show and rodeo brings to town. We always want to be cowboy friendly in this town, and to that degree, the Chamber, the CVB, have worked with a group out of Oklahoma to bring the Cowboy Jubilee to San Angelo, Texas, the one and only in the nation, here in April 2020. I say creativity without innovation leaves us nowhere. Innovation without creativity can't happen. And whether that is in arts, whether it's in vocational training, whether it's in the STEM program that we're working with Goodfield Air Force Base, we must make sure our youth is exposed to the arts. Now, my last thing is I believe strongly, and I know that you believe strongly in the city of San Angelo, but we've never had any gateways out there that said to people, welcome to San Angelo. And so with that, we are going to be doing the following things. We will create 4 gateways into the city of San Angelo. The first one, we are clearing the land as we speak, so when you exit the airport, there will be a welcome to San Angelo. How about that? Right now, if you exit San Angelo Mathis Field, you see a lot of brush, and then there's this little green sign that says San Angelo. Don't think that's very welcoming, do you? In addition to that, if you're driving north on 277, there's a wonderful bronze statue of sheep that was paid for by the Mertz family in honor of the late Mrs. Mertz. And with that, we'll be creating a Welcome to San Angelo to enhance that area. In addition to that, we have a cowboy out north on North 87 that stands there without anything around it, so people pass by it, don't know what it is. Most people miss it. And so we'll be creating a Welcome to San Angelo there as well. So whether you're coming in from the airport, whether you're coming in from 277 South going north, or 87 North, or 87 South coming into San Angelo, you will have Welcome to San Angelo gateways. In addition to that, we've widened Concho Avenue, and with the widening of Concho Avenue, we will now create a gateway at Randolph and Concho Avenue that is a gateway to our historic downtown area, the best entertainment district in the city of San Angelo. Thank you all very much.